Hello and welcome back to my FPL channel. I'm FPLD and today I am up at about, my wildcard draft has gone pretty well so far in Game Week 30. I'm going to talk about that. I am currently inside the top 1,000 teams in the entire world for the very first time in my FPL existence, let alone making videos for this channel. So lots to get excited about. Obviously, we're only 3 games into Game Week 30 with 7 more to go. I'm pretty excited about what potentially may lay ahead. So without further ado, smash a like on the video. Drop us a comment with what you ended up going with your wildcard draft if you went there, if you're wildcarding this week. And please, if you haven't already, subscribe if you're new. And without further ado, let's jump straight into it. So, the updated D unit chip strategy, I just wanted to quickly put this up because I have updated it and I'm going to talk about it a little bit later on. But at the moment, I've only had 1 red arrow now in the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks at the moment. And the fact I'm playing wildcard this week makes me think that it will be a green arrow because there's quite a few people above me that haven't played wildcard and I'm essentially just gaining points on them. And I think that is now going to turn out to be the moral of the story. The template team for wildcard is exceptionally strong. So if you didn't play it in Game Week 30, you're probably behind the 8 ball. You're not going to get the points for teams that have been optimized for Game Week 30. And look, there are a lot of players still to come, and it might not work out that the wildcard team beats the team that wasn't on wildcard. But at the moment, it definitely looks strongly like potentially that may end up happening. Jared Bowen, Bruno Fernandes, we're going to talk about them a little bit later on. They blanked, and yeah, lots of other people just missing out on points. So yeah, let's have a look at what I've taken away and what team I actually ended up locking in on wildcard 30. So at the moment, I am on 11 points from 3 players having played. So David Raya and Gabriel, we'll talk about Gabriel in very shortly, but that was probably the only disappointing thing. And the fact that Arsenal failed to keep a clean sheet. And I think they conceded the goal in the injury time, which is highly frustrating. Saka was a risk that I went with, and I had the exact money for this lineup, and that's essentially why I ended up going with it. And I'm pretty damn happy with it, and I'm going to explain why I went with this lineup, because some people are going to be like, why did you pick Bart Verbruggen, for example, in goals? There's a reason why I picked Bart Verbruggen in goals, and there's a reason why I also picked Cole Palmer. So yes, lots of people sold him on wildcard. My budget enabled me. I've gone up to 107 million team budget overnight, down from my 108, but I gained some value overnight, which has taken me back to 107. It did drop down to as low as 106.6 on the wildcard stream, but I'm looking pretty good. The team itself is looking pretty good, and 11 points. Lots of good players to come. I'm expecting a fairly decent score, and let's hope for the best, really. Let's just hope for the best. So the best place to start is the player comparison. Milenkovic versus Gabriel, I got inside my own head, and I knew that Gabriel is not as good a defender at the moment as Milenkovic. Like, the Forest defense are elite. Milenkovic just keeps on delivering points. Every time I bench him, he returns. He's like Chris, the Woody Woodpecker, who's no longer in my team. But every time I bench him, he delivers points. 6 points on the bench again. Milenkovic just can't stop scoring points. I think that's now 26, 31 points in his last 5 weeks. Unbelievably good for a defender. Gabriel, obviously, he wasn't helped by the injury, but that's concerning that Arsenal's defenders keep going down with muscle complaints. Ben White didn't make the game. Timber went off of a knee kind of injury. They've obviously had other issues throughout the season, but the defenders and their team in general just keep on doing muscle injuries. So I don't know what they're doing at training, or if they're just... But yeah, highly annoying that Gabriel went down, went off after 14, 15 minutes, and that's not what I wanted. I haven't owned him all season, and the 15 minutes I own him for, he delivers 1 point. I just wanted to do a comparison between the two of them. So Gabriel's got 10 clean sheets for the season. Milenkovic now has 13 clean sheets. It's 120 points for Milenkovic versus 116 for Gabriel. The one place where Gabriel does smash Milenkovic is in the expected goals conceded column, 0.89 for Gabriel, 1.19 per 90 for Milenkovic. So that's significantly better by 0.3 expected goals per 90. And the other place that Gabriel dominates is the bonus points. So Gabriel's got 9 bonus points for the system. Milenkovic only has 2, which I thought it was quite interesting. Milenkovic has one extra goal than Gabriel. Unfortunately, the games where Milenkovic has generally scored his goals, Forest have conceded numerous times, which has not been helpful. And yeah, as you can see there, XGI is exactly the same. And I did say that Milenkovic is still probably the second best defender to buy this week, and he's already risen in price since the deadline. So if you're not on wildcard and you activated it late, you've missed out on him, but he's going to be great value. Forest defence is just elite, and I think now they're the shoe-in now to keep the most clean sheets for the season. I can't see Arsenal catching him, and I just think that Gabriel, I'm just disappointed that I ended up benching Milenkovic yet again, and part of me was 50-50 on this call, and unfortunately I went wrong, so it is one of them ones. Very hindsighty, but just wanted to point that out. So my early notes for Game Week 31 from the 3 games that we've seen so far, and some of the stuff that I've seen all over X and other things, and generally every team above me I kept looking, and anyone that wildcarded literally has the exact same team as me. The only difference is that quite often most people couldn't afford Palmer and Saka, so a lot of people have Saka and Foden, or they'll have a Saka and Gordon instead of a Jacob Murphy. There is not much different variations out there at all. The good news is that Gabriel's points that he lost because he went off injured, everyone else was playing Gabriel as well. So I pretty much missed out on nothing. Majority of people had Gabriel on their teams, and it's going to be an issue potentially moving forward. If you're in the envious position where you haven't wildcarded and you're wildcarding in 31, happy days. You don't have to buy Gabriel. I would actually recommend just not going with the Arsenal defence at all. But that's just my personal opinion. You might be of different opinions. I don't know if Saliba is worth 6.3, and I'm not sure. Timber's probably the pick, but he went off injured, so you couldn't pick him with great confidence at the moment as well. But yeah, I'm pretty happy in general with the way the squad that I ended up with. I was pretty confident. I actually locked it in 40 minutes before the deadline, so I was pretty confident in what I was doing. And the thing I would say about Gabriel, yes, he went off injured. He's only yellow flagged at the moment in the game, and it is a hamstring. So if it's a lower grade hamstring, maybe he was just feeling it. They didn't want to risk it because Real Madrid's around the corner. It may not be panic stations. You might not need to sell him. And in reality, I want him for 32 and 33. If he's not fit for 32, that is the week I'm bench boosting, and I'll show you what that looks like later. He'll be sold. He'll be sold for a player that has a fixture in 34, and I'll just ignore the fact that I'll only have 8 doublers instead of 9 when it comes to that week. I'm perfectly fine with that. Yes, it sucks a little bit, but I just think that it's a better play than risking it and getting too many doublers and then having to take hits. Because I do want to play the free hit outside of Game Week 34. I think I can cover that game week quite nicely with the squad I picked, and I'm going to show you what that looks like a little bit later on. So, moving early on Saka, actually has proven to be a differential. Lots of people have Bruno Fernandes, lots of people with Jared Bowen, lots of people haven't wildcards, still have Brian Mbeumo. We don't know how well he's going to go. But Saka's looking pretty good with 8 points. Obviously, I didn't go with Phil Foden, and I went with Cole Palmer instead. So as long as Phil Foden doesn't kill my rank, I'm pretty damn happy with the fact that I went Saka early. And he's obviously risen in price overnight. It's gone from 10.2 to 10.3 already. He's probably going to keep trending up in that direction. The 45 minutes would do him good. I would expect him probably to start on the weekend because they need to keep getting minutes into his legs in preparation for that Real Madrid game. And that's what I would say on that. Bringing Palmer in as well, I think could be a differential. I'm hoping it's a differential, and I hope it's a differential that works well. If he can somehow return to the levels that we expected Cole Palmer, and with Jackson and all those others back in, it'll be brilliant. The one thing I would say about wildcarding at the moment, everyone's teams are exactly the same. The fact that Erling Haaland got injured completely wrecked wildcard 30 because that's where I was going. I had my draft all set, nailed, ready to go. Haaland was in, and it would have been very differential to what everyone has literally gone to because money's not an issue without having Erling Haaland in your team. And that's why literally everyone, doesn't really matter what squad value you've got, you pretty much ended up with the same 11 this week. Now, the next thing I want to work out is working out how many doubles for 33 is generally hard. I don't know how many you should have. I don't even know if I'm going to own an Aston Villa player over this time. I can't trust Emery to play the players from the start in both games. And for that reason, I just think that I just want to avoid them. And also, it depends on when you're going to play your free hit. Now, if you're going to 100% play your free hit in 34, just load up on as many doubles as you can get because it makes perfect sense, right? The only thing I'll say is that the fixtures of some of those teams post the double, like Arsenal defence, ain't good. Also, Newcastle posted the blanket, not overly fabulous either. Ditto with Crystal Palace. So sometimes it might actually be worth just balancing that out. Obviously, if the doubles don't end up in 33 and they end up in 36, it's a completely different scenario. But at the moment, we're still expecting the Premier League to announce that. Hopefully by Friday, we don't really know. And also, selling players when fixtures turn around, like Bruno Fernandes this week, I sold him. I didn't want to sell him. I'm a Man United fan, and I knew that if we scored a goal, he's involved. But he has off nights, and he is literally the team. So when Bruno doesn't show up, Man United don't win. And it makes sense. I sold Phil Foden the exact same time. After that Chelsea game, when the fixtures got tough, I sold Phil Foden, and I haven't bought him back. And sometimes you've just got to go with your head rather than your heart. That's what I should have done with Cole Palmer. The head's telling me Cole Palmer's going to pop here, which is the only reason why he's still in the team currently. So, the updated chip strategy and what I'm going to be doing. So, game week 30, I played the second wild card. Game week 31, regardless of Gabriel's injury status, I don't need him in 31. I'm rolling the transfer. I'm rolling the transfer. Game week 32, I'm playing the bench boost chip, 100%. Now, if Gabriel's injured and he doesn't get up for 32, he'll be moved to a player that doesn't have a double game week in 33, but has a fixture in 34, because I'm not going to be free hitting in 34. That is I'm hoping I'm not having a free hit in 34. That is obviously based on the information that hopefully those fixtures that are going to be moved from 34 go into 33. If they don't, I'm going to have to free hit in 34, and I'll adjust accordingly based off that. But that's essentially the plan at the moment. Game week 33, the potential, I may end up playing the triple captain there. There's one of three options. It's either in 33, 35, 36, or 37. It just really depends on when the other doubles are and the fixtures and the player that I want to play it on. I've gone off triple captain Isaac in 32. I think there's going to be better double game weeks with players to follow that. And that's just my understanding of the way I see it. And as I said, I'm literally aiming for the free hit in 38. I really want to make my transfers. I've got 4 players that I need to move between game week 30 and 34, and I've got 4 free transfers in order to field 11. Touch wood, no one gets injured. That's where I'm going with that. And I think that is my strategy. And moving forward, I think it makes a lot of sense. So, my current team as things stand. So, my current squad for game week 31 looks like that. So as you can see, Gabriel just drops to the bench. I don't need him. And then it's a toss-up between Milenkovic away at Aston Villa and Gabriel away at Manchester United. I think that's a pretty close call. But I'm going with Gabriel because Manchester United couldn't score a goal. And I just think they're going to struggle against Man City. And the Europa League has definitely got to take precedence for them. In terms of the midfield, it's Ismaila Sarr that drops out for Jacob Murphy. You've got to play the Leicester fixture. You've got to play all 3 Newcastle assets for this game. So for that reason, Dan Burn also comes in. I'm liking the look of that. Isaac will be captain in 31. I think he outperforms Mo Salah away at Fulham. This is obviously prior to me watching Liverpool against Everton tonight. Maybe that's probably the way it is. I'm not 100% sure. As I said, pretty decent fixtures and can afford to carry Gabriel to game week 32. So I don't need him until then because that's when I'm going to bench boost, and I 100% need him to be fit or he'll be moved out for that. Now, if you're on wildcard this week, I think this is pretty much a template. Other than Gabriel, might go for a Saliba, you might go for another Nottingham Forest defender, you might go for an Aston Villa defender, but essentially all the rest of the team, I think, are pretty template. Cole Palmer, maybe you don't want him and you want someone cheaper. Maybe you want to Phil Foden instead and you want 3 City. It just depends, as I said, what strategy you have for 31 to 34 and how you want to do it. Obviously, if you've got the assistant manager, you probably only want 2 Crystal Palace players. Again, that's something you need to take into account. And I think that also makes a lot of sense. So essentially, that's where my team's going. I'm pretty happy with it. Now let's look at what I need to do in terms of forward planning and why I'm bench boosting in 32 and how I intend on approaching blank game week 34. So, as you can see here, 914 I'm up to at the moment. It's not actually correct. Obviously, it hasn't got the pre-sub scores in there, so I'm actually 925. Pretty happy with the way it looks. As I said, if I go to pick team for next week, That's exactly what it looks like. I'm pretty happy with that. I'll roll with that. Now, when we go to Fantasy Football Hub to do some forward planning, Game Week 31 actually reckons I should be playing Gabriel over Dan Burn. I don't know what planet it's living on. It would actually be Dan Burn over Gabriel if Gabriel was fit. I'm not expecting Gabriel to be fit, which is why he's not there. Milenkovic, you could argue, he'll definitely get me 6 points again on the bench, 100%. Jacob Murphy should be starting instead of Saar. I'm not sure why he's not, but essentially Fantasy Football Hub just thinks that they just like those players better. Not sure why. So Game Week 32, as I said, this is when I'm going to be bench boosting, right? So Raya's got Brentford at home. Gabriel's got Brentford at home. So ideally they make the thing. So Saka's got Brentford at home as well. Mo Salah's got West Ham United at home. Munoz, Saar and Mateta have Man City and Newcastle on the double. Gabriel and Marmoush have Crystal Palace at home, which is better than Newcastle in 33, who have Aston Villa away. I think Crystal Palace at home for Man City just screams a lot more points. Cole Palmer obviously has Ipswich at home, which is why I've got Cole Palmer in this draft for the bench boost in 32. If we go to the bench, obviously I've got the Newcastle assets doubling, Man United at home, Crystal Palace at home. Verbruggen, as my second goalkeeper, has Leicester City at home. Again, great fixture. And Milenkovic has Everton at home. Arguably much better fixtures than there are in 33, so I'll 100% be playing the bench boost in 32. Gabriel, if he's not fit, will definitely become probably another Forest defender. So in this case, it's probably either going to be Murillo, because Aina got himself injured, or it'll be Williams, which is probably the more likely one because I want to save some money just for other things that might pop up in the team. So if Gabriel's not fit, we make the one transfer and we roll with that team and they'll be bench boosting with that. We go to Game Week 33, optimize the team. Milenkovic comes in, 92% game week rating. Again, I've got my 7 doublers here. So Raya, Gabriel, Munoz, Saar, Saka, Marmoush, Mateta. So 7 doublers. It's obviously a lot less than a team of 11, which you could get to theoretically. But again, I'm quite happy with the fixtures that aren't doubling. So Mo Salah's got Leicester, arguably probably better than having a double. Isaac's got Aston Villa, Palmer's got Fulham, and Milenkovic is going to have Brentford at home. So again, arguably, Tottenham away. That's probably the only dud one, but it is what it is. If you go to Game Week 34, obviously here, I've got some problems. So optimizing the team, I obviously need to make 3 transfers in order to get an 11 out. And I obviously will have 3 free transfers. So the idea here would be to get rid of the Arsenal assets. So Saka's probably going to leave. So is Munoz, and so will Saar. No, so will Mateta, sorry. And then in comes Cunha, who will be fit and available by then. By the way, Cunha's got Leicester, an amazing fixture. It may also be that I go back for, I did look at this earlier in terms of defenders, and I went in here and I really like the look of, get that off. Who did I like the look of? Robinson looks really good. However, I'm not sure that's the best play. I feel like potentially I didn't go Kirkes. I went like Robinson or maybe Wan-Bissaka looked pretty good here as well. Wan-Bissaka's got Brighton away. Tottenham at home, Man United away. No, it's not Wan-Bissaka. Maybe I did go Ait-Nouri or something like that. Someone with a half-decent fixture. And then in the midfield, I just went with a punt, and I just went with Fernandez. And we'll go to midfield. Fernandez. So if we go make transfers and we optimize the team now, all of a sudden I've got 11 players and the game week rating's 85% right. And then I go to the next week and optimize the team, and all of a sudden I'm back to a 92% rating. I can then roll, make my transfers based on the fixtures up until game week 38, and it makes sense. So that's my plan. Anyways, hopefully it makes sense. Hopefully the forward planning is a little bit there. Hopefully you'll enjoy that. That is essentially the plan and the reasoning behind it. So there's still obviously lots to play out in game week 30, but essentially I think I'm on a pretty good footing. I think playing the wild card a week early, other than the fact that Gabriel went down, and we don't know how long or severe that's going to be, but I would definitely be holding fire if you have Gabriel. I wouldn't be getting rid of him just yet and just waiting to see if he is fit for 32 or 33 if you're bench boosting. You can probably hide him on the bench anyway if you wildcarded him 30. There's no need to panic, no need to worry about it. You pretty much can afford every other defender in the game, and that's what I would say about that. Other than that, I'll be back tomorrow with my actual preview for the game week. So join me for that, and then I'll be back on Friday with team selection and a deadline stream on Saturday. I'll be watching all the football tonight. It's going to be exciting. Hopefully your teams and your points are doing well, and hopefully you're on a green arrow this week. That's been the D Unit. Make sure you drop a like and subscribe if you're new. Thanks for watching.